Chapter 2. I rolled over facing my nightstand and peered at the time. It was getting quite late in the morning, so I forced my heavy eyelids open. I walked to the bathroom slowly, like a zombie. My eyes widened in front of the mirror as I scanned my horrible appearance. I undressed and stepped into the shower, letting the warm water calm me. I ran my hands through my wet hair, staring at the shampoo bottles. I was just about to pick one up when it fell into the bathtub. That's strange. I didn't even touch it. Never mind. I grabbed the bottle and washed my hair well. I got out of the shower and put on a white hoodie and some black skinny jeans. I pulled my dark wavy hair up into a high ponytail and left the house. I took a bag with me and quickly threw in some utensils. I swung the bag over my shoulders and headed out of the house. I walked quickly through the streets. The light should have been blue. I saw a couple of people I used to know last year in high school, but I just hid my face and kept going. I didn't feel like being stopped. I kept walking until I reached my friend Meredith's house. Meredith was probably the only person I could become really good close friends with. Seeing as she was quite an outcast like me, she loved practicing witchcraft, although most of her family and friends thought it was stupid. I thought it was interesting, and I let her do what she loved to do. Some things she told me about were fascinating. I climbed up the steps on our front porch and rang the doorbell twice. She eyed me suspiciously through the eye spot and chuckled. After she knew I wasn't a bully from her past, come back to haunt her, she opened the door, smiling sweetly. "Hey, Sky," she said, pulling me inside and closing the door behind me. "What took you so long?" I might have slept in a little," I confessed. She laughed and brought me upstairs to her room, in which she had concoctions of all colors. Some were bubbling and steaming, and some were just still. I walked over and stared deeply into one that was a transparent bright green. She watched me proudly as I examined each and every one of them. "What do these do?" I asked her. Seeing her beaming so much, they must have turned out well. "Well," she replied, this was supposed to calm you down when you are stressed." She pointed to a milky orange one. "Oh, sort of like alcohol?" I asked. "No," she giggled, slapping my arm. "It really calms you down, and you feel like nothing is a big deal. It's really good." "Have you touched these?" "No," she said, "not on people. But there are ways to tell if they've been mixed correctly. Like this one is good if you stick something heavy in it and it floats, like a stone or something." My eyes widened. "Really? That's cool." "It's very cool," she agreed. "And this one—" She had stopped when an empty glass, which she must have used to mix water in, was suspended in midair. We both stopped and stared at it. I had been staring at it for some time, since I noticed the lights reflected off it in different colors. I blinked my eyes a few times at the light that shone in my eyes, and the glass dropped, shattering to pieces on the ground. Meredith turned to look at me suspiciously. I picked up the few big pieces of glass from the floor and started cleaning up. "No, don't worry," she said. "But how did that happen?" I stood on my feet again, placing the few bits of glass on my desk. "I don't know," I said. "I was just looking at it because it was making these colors, and then it just floated." She laughed. "Things don't just float, Sky. You must have done something." I gave her a look that said she must have been losing it. What, she thought I used telekinesis or something? But on the other hand, she was right. Things didn't just start floating. "Come here," she said, guiding me to her bed. She made me lie on my stomach and stare into a cup. I stared at it for about 30 seconds and shot into Meredith's face. "Whoa!" she exclaimed. "Control yourself." "I half meant for that to happen," I said, giggling a little. I was excited about my new ability now. I knew it would take some practice and getting used to, but I couldn't help but imagine what I could do with it. When I arrived home, my father was at a table, his back turned to me, wolfing down a meal my sister must have made for him. "Hey, Dad," I said quickly, starting up the stairs. I was hoping he was one in his good moods. "Hey, kid," he replied. I gave a small sign of relief. I headed into my room and shut the door behind me, careful not to make a loud noise so not to tick him off. For the rest of the evening I practiced my new levitation on things like books, pens, cups, and other small light objects. After that I moved on to the practicing with heavier objects, but it didn't go so well. They were all a little too heavy, and I didn't have the energy. Eventually I gave up and went to bed. Next morning. "Sky, get out of the goddamn bed and get to the library!" I heard Lana screaming from her room. I had borrowed a little book once, and today was the last day I had to return it. I groaned loudly so she would hear me as I forced myself out of bed. "Oi!" she shouted again, obviously hearing me. As I got ready, I kept thinking about the telekinesis yesterday. Was it a dream? I sat on my toothbrush for about a minute. Nothing. I waved it off and headed to the library, taking the book with me. When I arrived, I saw quite a lot of people reading, buying, and returning books. I headed to the desk with a tall, skinny-looking woman in a long black dress behind it. I was taken aback a little by her strange choice of clothes, but handed her the book nevertheless. Everyone can wear what they want. I decided to take a look around the library to see if there was anything I could pick up. I turned to a corner and found a long row of my favorite type of books. Mystery. I started looking at of anything interesting. On a shelf next to me reading another type of book, there was an elderly-looking woman reading one of the books. Then I started hearing a voice in my head. "Do you think because I am poor, obscure, plain, and little I am soulless and heartless? You think wrong. I have much soul as you and full as much heart." It was a story, Jane Eyre, in fact. I looked at the woman. She was holding Jane Eyre. She closed the book and placed it back into itself. The voice spoke again. "No, not what I'm looking for." I stepped back a little. What was that? I wonder where the mystery ones are. At that moment the woman came up to me. "Excuse me? Do you know where the mystery stories are?" she asked politely. "Yes, they're right here," I said, gesturing to the shelf right next to me. She nodded as a thanks and started looking into the shelf for something more to her liking. "Ah, now these are the ones I am looking for." I saw the woman smile a little. Was I? No. Was I reading her mind? One of the books on the shelf I suddenly floated and I was stopped. Started again tumbled to the floor. I rushed and picked it up, hoping the woman noticed nothing. Fortunately, she didn't. I rushed out the door, practically running home. First telekinesis, and now telepathy. It was all just too much for me. I kept hearing people's thoughts in my head when I looked at them. It was too noisy. I ran to my room and slamming the door behind me, I stumbled onto my bed. After a few deep breaths, after I gathered my thoughts, I opened my computer again. I needed to hack someone. I had taken up hacking instead of cutting as a stress reliever. It was something I always did. It was no harm to me or the people I hacked. People would say I deserved to be in jail, but I personally thought it was heaps better than cutting. After a long while, the picture started to form on my screen again. This time it was a little different. At first it was a little funny. Then all I saw was a red velvet couch. Nothing else. The chair was quite close. I guessed it was probably resting on the table in front of it. I was staring at the screen, hoping someone would entertain me when I saw someone whose appearance I recognized very well. He looked about my age, blonde hair with a green hat. He looked exactly like the Link from the video games, but it wasn't him. I knew exactly who it was.